Hey everyone, welcome to Curated Reality. Adnan, say hi.
Hey, hi everybody.
Okay, so as all of you know, today we are gonna talk about or discuss about the career path from being an engineer to an engineering manager. And to do that, we have Brijesh with us. Hey Brijesh, welcome to the stream.
Hey, hey, hi. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. So Adnan, where should we start? Should we start from maybe so what is an engineering manager and how does it differ from a product manager?
I think I have a better question to begin with. Like,
Yeah,
as an engineering manager, do you do anything?
yeah.
I think that's the first question that everybody has.
Yeah, yeah. That seems to be the common confusion that what does the people do? They show up in a meeting and then they don't code. So yeah, so everything that the engineer does and whatever is left, the engineering manager does. So managing stakeholder is the main thing, like keeping everything on a line. So business has some expectation, so product is working on it, but then to deliver that, the execution part comes on the engineering manager. A lot of time in small teams, you would see tech leads or PMs stepping up to that role and doing a mixed job of it. And it works out. Like it's fine. If the team is small, either a tech lead. If you have that person who is able to handle it, then probably you don't need a dedicated engineering manager. But as the team grows, so that's what happened with me in my last job. That we were 10 the developers like 3 4 years ago. So then two of us were tech leads and able to manage things. But the moment we become 20, 25, then it doesn't work out. You can't have a big team. You have to create small teams. You have to create vertical based on the business that you are working on, and then you need somebody who can make sure that that culture is there. Tech challenges are taken care, like it's not taking a back seat because we are shipping products and products sprint by sprint. So and then hiring, so all those things, apart from the day-to-day job of an engineer, like where does the company go? So how many should people should we hire? So all those things comes under engineering manager's bucket. So that the tech lead can focus only on solving problems and mentoring people day to day, and product managers can do their jobs of building out products, researching, working with design, making sure business expectations are properly executed by the product. So that's where, like, when the team grows, then only you need an engineering manager. For a small team, it will be an overkill.
Got it. I think that is like, in a way, it is everything that is not done is your responsibility, right? Like,
Yeah,
uh,
so it's a day to day, you wouldn't know what you're gonna do, how your day is gonna look like. You know
right,
where you're going and all, but any random challenges that comes up, for any people challenge, any product challenge, any business requirement, any production issues, let's say. So you are the one driving and making sure the delivery is happening, the prioritization, because uh, if somebody comes from product and asks to developer that I need this, and then somebody has to be there in a big team that make sure that no, what is the priority? Let's discuss first. Why do we need this? So that's where the EM comes in picture.
right, right. And as you said, right, since every day is almost different on a regular basis because you don't really know what kind of challenges a new day will bring for you, right? Uh,
Yeah.
how do you tend to deal with that uncertainty? Like, I understand that it is the part of the job and responsibility, but then how do you decide that you like to do it or you want to do it? Like, what was that first step for you from a team lead or a principal engineer kind of role to move towards like an engineering manager kind of role? Like, what was that inspiration? What was your personal motivation to get into that?
Yeah. So what happened? Like I was saying, we were a small team. We were working out as a two tech leads were handling everything, and then slowly, team increased. In pandemic, so I was working in a tech company. So in pandemic, there was a lot of focus on education companies that we have to provide right tools for people to learn. So at that time, what happened is we had very flat hierarchy in the company. So it was very circumstantial. So as the CTO was there, and then it was directly us. There were no VPs, no directors, no engineering managers, never. So we hadn't seen actually that how does it look like to work under a manager. It was just us voluntarily handling things because it was a medium-sized team across
Right.
the org. We were like 200 folks. So it was working out. So then what happened is we grew the team. So then pandemic came, we had to hire. So somebody had to step up and look after hiring day to day. What kind of questions are you asking? Who is gonna take the interviews? What are like? How do you judge somebody? How do you make sure the biases are not there? And how many people do you need? Whose skill is what? Where can you put them? uh, like which project needs how many people? All those things I started handling when the pandemic hit. And like it was basically some nobody was there to do all those things. And if I continued doing the day-to-day job of a senior engineer and focused on my project only, then the team would have struggled. Everywhere there would have been chaos. So I voluntarily stepped up and started handling those things. And slowly, I could see my day-to-day job. I could give to people who are much more interested in becoming principal engineers, architects in future. So I handed over my responsibility slowly to them, and I started, getting involved in hiring. What are the team things we are building? Why are we building those? And the new folks were joining, so they were. It's little easier for to give them the direct task that okay, this is your project, you execute that. So they go in, understand the tech they already know. But to know where business is going, to ask right question, you need context. You need to know over the year what happened, how this company will take certain challenges, and how what is priority for us. So that role nobody was there to do. So I stepped up and started doing all those things. And then, like 6 months, 8 months down the line, I was talking to one of my mentors, and he said that, it looks like you are diverging toward engineering manager role. You are not coding every day, and you are handling bigger stuff. You are looking out where team is going and all. So you at this point, you better decide. Either you go full in and
Yeah.
like start managing people, they report to you, take care of their career paths. Don't do half up. Now is the time you sit there. So there is this book called Ikigai, right? If you have heard of the Japanese, yeah. So he asked me that, figure out from that concept that what do you want to do in life. So that's where it hit me, and like I was like for a few days I was like struggling to figure out what to do. Then I read that book. I then started talking to people. So essentially, what that book tells you is what you love. So it's an chat where you have to find the intersection of what you love, what world needs. So what is the current requirement? What are the things out there that world needs so somebody to take care? And what are you good at? And what can you be paid for? So if you
Right.
just search Ikigai, anybody in the audience, like if you want to just search Ikigai on Google Images, you will get that image. So he was like, figure out this. Then I started talking to people about what I knew what I love. I was able to handle this role for 6 to 8 months, and I liked it. That rather than me being sitting and executing one project, one sprint, and one mini team like 4, 5, 6 people, if I step up and do things, I was able to manage multiple teams, and I was able to influence the right things. Sometimes, if nobody is there as an engineering manager, you get busy in your project, and then things starts falling outside your project area. So that was hurting me more than my project executed very well. So then I was able to see the larger picture that I need to do something here, otherwise nobody will be able to work correctly. Like the policies, the kind of projects we are picking up, the design, the deliveries we are doing. Uh, so I knew what I loved and what I was good at. So then I needed to know like what the world needs and what can I get paid for. So that for that I needed some external inputs. So I started talking to people. I started talking to who are a senior in the industry. So from the BL ladder community, I knew 4 or 5 people. So I talked to them. Somebody who had recently became an EM, same like my background. He was in a mobile engineer and then went on becoming an EM. So I talked to them. I talked to a product manager to get in a big tech firm. So to get an idea of what does an EM look like, because we didn't have one. So I needed to
Right.
figure out that what happens, what's a big company EM look like, and then like 3 4 I talked to Vedant himself. So I was talking to him that like we were working together for a 1 year period. So I was talking to him like, what did you find good about me, so that I am not biased about my skill, that okay, I know this much, but my colleagues are feeling somebody something else.
Right.
So I figured out 3 4 people in a different area and talked to them, and then I listed out everything. Then what I was, then I came to learn like what I was doing for last 1 year. So then I noted down everything that I didn't code, but then I did all this stuff. That I handled this project, I was handling this situation, I was able to raise my voice when this happened in the company across the teams to the management. So I listed down everything, and while talking to all those folks, and fine tuned it and sent it to my CTO. That this is what I have been doing for 1 year. I don't feel like I'm an engineer anymore. I am not a principal engineer. I have already diverted my roles. So if you feel we are on same lines, then let's change my designation. Otherwise, if you feel there is something missing, let's work on it. Just suggest me. I can work on it for 6 months, and then we can figure out. But he was more than happy to. Like, it looks like you have done your research, so let's go ahead and change it. Anyway, you are doing the same stuff.
Okay, so what will be your suggestion to the folks who wants to pursue this path? For example, if someone is a senior engineer right now and he wants to become an EM in future, so what will be your suggestion to those folks? How should they approach this career path?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, in between, I missed out one thing. There is this book called The Manager's Path. I kept it here so that I can. It will be easier for people to remember. So this is a very good book. One of our my friends suggested this, that you go through this book. What this book essentially has is from internship to CTO. It summarizes for each role what should you be doing, like what is the ideal roles and responsibilities. You may have some, you may not get some, depending on your company size, your country of work, and all. But more or less, it has everything from a Silicon Valley perspective. That when you are a senior engineer, it says that no, you should, if you want to become team lead, you should start mentoring interns, so that you know that are you able to take care of people's work, are you able to take care of their work's responsibility, if something blows up, if you have blame, are you able to handle those situations, and if you are able to mentor basically somebody and do the whole career path for them, to teach them everything. So this book is one of the best things to start with if you are a senior engineer. This will give you an idea of what are the responsibilities look like at every level when you are managing people as a tech lead, when you are managing a team as a manager, when you are managing multiple teams, and when you are managing multiple managers. So all those are covered. So you can start from the basic and then stop at where you feel your career is currently. So this is one thing to give you a by book idea. Second thing I feel like is I'm forming my strong opinion recently on this is if you ever want to get promoted in tech, and exceptions aside, I think you should just do the next job's responsibility. Let's say you are a senior developer of 10 years. If you want to become a principal engineer, then start getting involved in multiple projects. Do your one project, start consulting other projects. Don't expect that you will get promotion, or don't even look out for promotion. Just
Mhm.
see what the next level does and start doing at your level. One level up, most of the time I don't see anyone not getting that opportunity. Like if you
Right.
are a uh, lead engineer and if you go and consult other product, I will help you. Nobody will say no. It will always be a welcome help. And you have to learn that also, that if it is a resistance, then how do you solve it? Because you are the principal engineer, let's say in 6 months, then how will you do at that point? So some responsibilities you may not get, but most of it you should just start doing it. So that's what luckily happened with me. I was not sure that since I didn't have one, I didn't have anybody to look after, and most of our friend groups are also like developers only. So we always talk about codes and libraries and builds not working and all. So we don't know how that life looks like. So if you have somebody, then surely talk to them, understand real life things. Otherwise, just start taking care of it. See, as a senior engineer, start talking to product more, start talking to design more, start influencing things. And once you do few of those things, you will realize that do you actually want to do it or not. That's a free ticket to the ride, right? So uh, some things might come later with responsibility only, like hiring, more influence in hiring. But like, how is your interview process? Do you have problems with that? Do you have some rounds which you feel are not taken properly? Then how do you guide folks? All those things. Do you see a technical depth in your project? Are you able to influence your project planning to make sure that it's not piling up? So just read this book, talk to people, figure out what are responsibilities, and just start doing it. 8 out of 10 responsibilities will be there for you to do today itself, and then you once you have done it, also you can just talk to your manager, your whoever you're reporting to, and just say that, hey, see, I have been experimenting with this. You can talk to them also if they're open. If you have a good relationship, just talk to them that I'm gonna try out these things. So like I may not be doing like I'll be 80% focused on my current job, but 20% I want to explore these things, and then see if it works out. Then we can look at the EM path. That's how I would say on any role,
Yeah.
like to get a promotion.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that you spoke of is role models, right? I think in India specifically, that is a big challenge today, wherein uh, I don't see a lot of leadership in terms of, like, we have team leads, we have engineering managers, right? I'm not saying we don't have those roles. It's just that, again, it has been like a problem since ages that it's just been promoted because you're the senior most engineer in the team. It's not, you have not been given that title because you are doing that work or you are interested to do it to begin with. It was more of the fact, hey, you are the senior most engineer, I think you should get promoted to the next level so that we retain you in the company. And that is how people have become team leads and this, right? And I think that's where it starts to create problems, right? Like a lot of
Correct.
people, when I see a team lead and an engineering manager today, right, they still think their job is only tech, right? And as a EM or a team lead, right, people management is also a very important aspect of the role, right? And to the point wherein tech is still the easier part of it, people management is harder, right? Like
It's
tech, you
predictable.
can
Tech is at least you know what problem statement is clear. Solution is
exactly.
not clear, but here you have to find the problem also first.
Right. And
Correct.
I think that's the biggest challenge today in India, right? Finding decent role models who you can look up to, who you can talk about, right? I'm not saying there are none of them. I know quite a few of them who are there, but then that is a very limited set of people who truly understand like what an EM does, what kind of mentorship and what kind of coaching needs to go into that kind of things, right? I have been this, right. One of the biggest things is, in my experience, ever since I've looked at so many of them, it's just been that a lack of empathy in general, between EMs. Like they think that, hey, you know what, my job is delivery, right? And because that is the one metric that becomes that quantifiable metric, right, for an EM, that hey, how much of your sprint has been delivered on time, how many spillovers, all of these metrics are the ones that you can quantify, right? So it is easy to talk about all of those things,
Yeah.
but then even as companies, right, we don't talk about people management skills, like, because just there is no way to quantify it, right? It is all up for interpretation. Like you might say that, hey, I influence like 10 engineers in the team to grow into something better, but then others might say that I don't know if it was your role. How do you deal with that uncertainty, right? Like how do you justify your work to your manager, to the CTO, whoever that is?
Yeah, it gets hard. It even gets hard when you're interviewing people for EM role, because how do you judge? They might say something, so at time it becomes a little bit. But yeah, as circumstantial questions helps there in interviews. But putting that aside, day-to-day job, yeah, you rightly said, empathy is very important part of being a people manager of any kind. There is this term called servant leadership. So I recently come across it, and it sounds interesting and something that people should look into. So it's basically, we are here to serve people. We are here to serve engineers first. Once we do that, once we keep our team happy, they will deliver, because we have hired them. Everybody is here to work. If you just provide them good environment and clarity, everything else falls in line. Even yesterday, only our CTO was telling that only thing a developer needs is clarity. If you don't give them clarity and give them 10 other things, they will still run away from you. So give them clarity of what the work looks like. Be empathetic. I used to, it might be a little controversial, I don't know, but I used to tell to my team, nobody's gonna die if you don't push this release out. We are not, we are not doctors. If you have genuine reason, obviously, if somebody is slacking, that somebody from top will come and slap you. But if you have genuine reasons, let's say somebody falls sick or somebody had some problems at house and the home, and they were not able to focus on it, it is okay. One feature less goes, we'll work hard next time. We'll push it out. Somebody else can help. Life goes on along with your work. If you just focus on work and don't connect with the people that working on, don't be empathetic and just whatever goes in their life, I need my release. It won't work out. It will you will see the people no moving out of your team and everything. So it's very important to see what people are they liking it, and what are the actual problems. It may not be big problems like intercountry politics and all foreign policies or things. It will be small things, but you have to understand, is it important to that person? For that person, what is important and what drives them. So all those things are like very hard to showcase. But overall, if your team is happy, you're able to deliver, not in a short span, but an over the, like, let's say a quarter or a year time frame, you're able to deliver all the things correctly. How do you handle pressure and uncertainty and all? So all those comes in picture. It also needs like, if I have to showcase all this to my manager, it also needs the way, how what is important for him. Is he able to see all these things, that how the team is running, how multiple teams are running? He should be able to see across the company that all the teams, and before somebody was in that role, how are things. So a little bit of those side of will be required from the manager side itself, to understand the role. And if the team is functioning correctly, you might feel like, do we even need the manager? But that's where somebody has to judge it, that okay, that person is there, that's why this is happening. The team is functioning and able to grow every year, every quarter. So yeah, it's little tricky, but multiple things when they see have falling in place correctly, and the team being happy, low iteration rate, like whenever skip level manager meeting happens, or an survey is sent out in a team, if they are happy with one-on-ones, so they will have to connect with folks. Like my skip manager doesn't connect with my team. So that's when the truth will come out. That okay, are they how are they feeling? Yeah, it's also a tough job to quantify those things, but multiple inputs will help.
Right. And I think the best thing or a best compliment is if the company and the team feel that uh, the as a EM, even if you're not there, nothing would change and like this. I think that is the task of a EM achieved, right? Like you've made the team self-sufficient to the point wherein they don't really need any help or guidance from somebody else altogether now, right?
Yeah, for a short time, like if there's a dependency, there's a red flag that somebody should be able to take care when you're not there.
Right.
So
Cool. Right. Before we take further questions, I anybody who is watching, any other questions that you might have, feel free to start posting it in the chat. We'll pick them up. I think while we have our own set of questions, we would love to have more questions from people who actually face what problems they are going through, what questions that you have. This is just me and Vedant having curious set of questions for Brijesh.
Yeah. Brijesh, at one point of time, you had to decide whether you want to be an engineering manager, right? So, if you hadn't chosen this path, what are the other options available for an engineer? What he can become?
yeah, so it differs from company to company a bit, but more or less, you become a tech lead or a team lead, whichever designation your company is following. That's where you are managing your module. You are responsible for 3, 4 people, either juniors or mid-level or same experience as you. So that is the role after which the diversion starts from the tech lead or team lead. That either you become a principal engineer or you become an EM. So both are at same level.
Okay.
And to like those who are in that level currently and feeling that manager is in promotion, it actually is not. So after tech lead, either you become principal or you become manager. But if you become manager, you're a fresher in management stream. So
Yeah.
you're actually just changing the track. It's not a promotion. You are not better than anybody else. You are actually changing the way you want to work and change your responsibility. So either you become a principal engineer and you start owning multiple projects. You start coding less. You start coding. You don't code the normal things which your team can do. You are mainly worried about architecture. You are worried about where the future is going. Are we using right technologies? You are worried about the critical issues. And then same thing for multiple projects. Slowly, you're guiding others. You're setting that team up. You are called into meeting just for the brainstorming of the project. You have to quickly grasp what's happening, understand the architecture, figure out issues. So that is the more challenging role that comes at the same level, like at the salary and all the level is same, but yeah, your manager is a different category. Principal engineer happens after the lead. And then from principal engineer, you can go to architect, senior architect roles. So a lot of company has different levels, but yeah, more technical side where you are taking care of unknown problems. You are figuring out, feel somewhat similar like a manager. You don't have a defined problems all the time. There are few set of responsibilities that you are doing, but things you are figuring out on your own. Is our more than your, let's say you're a mobile engineer, so you're not just worried about your screens and your modules and your bill size and all. How does the data look like afterwards? Obviously, like you should be doing that at all levels, but you are more worried about even the problem isn't presented to you. So you find your problems and then find the solutions, find right people to work on the solutions. You may not do all the work on your own. The delegation also is very important after the lead engineer, at the lead engineer level and above.
Okay, so being an engineering manager, you are probably talking to design, talking to product, and giving engineers clarity to is expected from them, right? Apart from that, are you also responsible for their career paths, and are you set their goals and all? And if you do that, then how do you prepare yourself for that kind of scenarios? Because as engineer, you were not doing this before, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that also comes under EM's responsibility apart from design. Day to day, basically project execution. The other major responsibility is looking after the team, their career paths. So individuals will have their own ways of doing it. Uh, so I read this nice concept in a book called Radical Candor. So a lot of my learning comes from the books currently because I'm in still an early phase of career. So I learn from at the job, and then a lot of books are there for management, well written, well thought out books. So what it tells is that there are two kind of engineers you will have in your team. The rock stars. The rock stars are the ones who always want to try out new stuff, always asking for more challenge, always changing job in every 2 year. They were the first to try out anything new in tech, be it the current project is needs or not. They are ahead of the curve in trying out those technologies. They are rock stars. Similarly, you have superstars. The superstars ones who like stability, who wants to work on a project for a long time, who doesn't change the job very frequently, 5, 6 years. They'll be a backbone of your company. Rockstars will come and leave for sure because they get bored of the same kind of problems, same kind of domain in every 2, 3 years. They will move on. But the superstars are the ones that are holding your team for a longer time. So at times you will realize when we were young, when we were immature, you will feel like this person is just here, doesn't like challenge in life, keeps
right,
doing same work. But actually, it's not true. They're a different personality. They are also needed. If they are not there, everybody moves on in a project every 2, 3 years. Project will fail. The whole industry will have struggles. Right? So
right,
you have to figure out which person is in which category. Then you have to serve them. If somebody is a rock star and you're not giving them enough challenge, then they will early move on. They will not like your team. They will have troubles adjusting. If somebody wants stability and you keep on changing their teams, giving them uncertain things, like projects where there's no clarity and all, so they may not feel comfortable. For each person, first you need to understand by talking to them, by seeing their work, by observing them, that having one-on-ones regularly, that what are their values, what do they like, what kind of work. Obviously, you'll have to challenge them. You can always keep on giving them what they are comfortable with, but it has to be gradual. You have to talk to them. You have to make them feel comfortable on things. So basically, individuals will have their own things. There is That's why you will not find any materials on of how to grow people's career path. That
right,
there is no silver bullet. So everybody will have their own way. Somebody's life, something is happening, they need stability. So you talk to them, you figure out what they need. For each individual, you keep giving them challenges, something which is out of their reach, but not so far that they can't achieve and feel demotivated. So each person will have their own career paths drawn. So all this comes out of one-on-one. So you sit with them and let them talk. You just listen and then help them guide through those. Like what should be the next thing for them? Should they be stepping up? Should they be taking more responsibilities? Should they become EM? Should go on principal engineer path? So somebody who is more worried about after the requirements are clear, design are clear, still they're worried about what is next for us, uh, about hiring. So basically, they will start showing signals
right.
about what they want to do in life, and if they're not showing, then you can. Our job is to like present to them that okay, these are the two things. Now you start exploring and see which one you like more, and then we can decide. So everybody will take their own time and path to reach to all the next level.
Yeah. Okay, so do you miss anything about being an engineer? Since I'm assuming you are not writing code and yeah, so do you miss anything?
But for me particularly, like kind of don't miss anything as such majorly. I'm happy with the role that I am fulfilling because I'm able to manage the whole area of a project that I wanted to. So the roles and responsibilities are kind of aligning what my likes are. Day to day connected with tech, like just staying close to technology is still something that I do. So I'm not feeling a disconnect there. But yeah, I'll have to make sure that I keep doing that because we all have come across people
Right.
who talk something, but that's not reality. So I am trying my best to not lose that edge. Whatever technology I am comfortable with, I'll be continuously, get keeping myself updated so that if I talk something, people don't feel like, yeah, we just have to listen to you, but we know what actually the issue is, and whatever you're saying is not relevant. So that point should not come. That because engineers love when you talk in their language.
Right. Right.
There's like we used to do that. If somebody is saying, yeah, this can be done, once that person goes, you realize that all this is very outdated or from somebody somewhere else borrowed to and apply to this technology. It's not gonna work out. So at this point, I'm still there. I am able to talk in the right language, and I will keep doing that so that engineers don't feel like just because I'm a manager, they'll have to listen to me.
Yeah. Okay. Also, do you write code sometimes? And there's a whole argument in the internet that whether engineering managers should know how to write code or not. Right? What's your view on that?
Yeah, definitely. So what happens is, frankly, I have not written code recently. I just recently changed jobs, so even like I am not able to influence. I not got time basically to influence it in a code review also. But at my previous job, I used to make sure that I do the sit with developers and do few of the major things to architect and do code review. But yeah, how I would say is if you are getting time, any like if your team is small, if you're managing 6 7 people, or it's very company specific. If all the folks are in one team, then and you are in that team, then it's easier like for you to know the code, to know it's in one direction. If you're
Right.
managing, let's say 10 people, but 5 teams, then it becomes very hard. There is
Right.
no
Right.
time. But ideally, yeah, you should stay in touch with code. If you are not coding daily, at least you should be as an EM is just first role after lead engineer, right? So you are still fresh out of your hands-on experience. So you should at least review the code. That will help you out. So one of the other responsibilities of EMs is that let's say your tech lead goes on a leave for a month, they had a
Right.
baby or they want to go to vacation or something else happened in their life. So you should still be able to, excuse me, you should still be able to influence the team. Your team should not fall down just because you are a now manager and you don't code, so you don't know what to do or how things work. That will be a trouble. If you are at a director level or a VP level, then you will have people doing that. So you will have other managers who are still fresh out of hands-on experience. So you should be basically as an EM, you should know what your architecture and all looks like. That's what my currently I'm trying exploring it in my new jobs. Or, managing teams and parallelly getting my hands on how code works. So you should know what's happening. You should be able to understand the architectural changes your tech leads are proposing for the technology that you just were working few months back. So you should not completely leave out to them. You should be a kind of a consultant at least to them. Do the code review in team in absence of your tech lead. Uh, just help out them. What I would say is you should not become the you should not still be the person who approves things. You should have people, tech leads, and seniors taking that responsibility. Sometimes you would see EMs are coding and they are in touch with code, very nice, but like don't be the bottleneck because you
Mhm.
might get more responsibilities. Tomorrow, a new project is starting. Your company may need you to lead that also. So your team should not fall again. So removing dependencies is the major thing. Don't let your project be dependent on you. That unless you say this happens, the team cannot go and make those changes. So that should not be there. You should be overseeing things and trying to be in touch as much as you can. Yeah. If you're getting a little more time and you want to do some bug fixes, go ahead, surely. but don't take up the core modules, because you decided to become an EM, then you should not be the central. You should not be the best coder in your team. If you are, then there is a still problem. You need to replace yourself with somebody else first. So that's how I would. It's very dependent on companies, because
Yeah.
the role is also. So when I started interviewing for EM, it was a difficult time for me, because every company has a different expectation.
Right.
In my previous job, I used to just work with tech leads. I was in that company for 6 years, so I was able to understand the decisions that are making at the technical level. And I knew business, I knew system, so it was easier for me to work with them, talk to them, and manage them. I had hired them all almost in my team, so it was easier. But then a new company, some of the company wanted hands-on experience. Like they wanted me to give the DSA interview and write the executable code.
Oh.
And some company, it was just managerial. Like there were
Mm-hmm.
no technical rounds itself in the process. And some had mixed. Some wanted, some had things that were similar to what I was doing. That you'll be mentoring, you should know the high level of your system. Whatever technology you have most experience, you should know that technology, and then people aspect of it, of your role. So that those interviews I was able to crack, but the one which are full hands-on, because I was not doing it,
Right.
and I could do it. Like I was an engineer at one point, right? I was coding, so I could sit and do it. But that's specific to that company, and
Right.
interview process are not transparent that you would get to know in advance that this company wants this. So there are very few companies who want like hands-on experience. BSA round, we have a lot of the companies are trying to remove from developers also. Then asking EMs to do, it's their choice because they have that role in that sense. So it differs a lot company to company.
Yeah. Understood. Adnan, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think a couple of them, right? Like one of the things that has always been like tricky, right, as an EM is uh, managing expectations, right? Like there are expectations from both the sides as an engineering manager for you. On one hand, there is that expectation that your team and your developers have, right? Hey, like we should be using the latest technology. Like, hey, why are we not doing a certain thing a certain way? And then there is that business expectations, right? That hey, like our revenue needs to grow by certain numbers, our this needs performance needs to improve and things like those, right? How do you find that balance? Like how do you prioritize one over the other? Like choosing one or the other always is not a great idea, right? Like either tech or business. How do you find that balance? How do you convince? It is easier to convince devs, in my opinion, but then how do you convince the business the other way around, right? Like things related to tech debt or adopting like a new technology altogether for the new tech stack for the app. How do you go about doing that? What has your experience been around such things?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there always is a fight between shipping more features and making sure business expectations are aligned, and then devs have their own priorities. So what I usually do is understand what the business priorities are currently. So sometimes in an year or no, in a quarter, you will have some things to deliver. Either your marketing campaign is going on, there's a big market opportunity, you have to stay ahead from competition. So you understand why business needs it. You ask them questions that why are we doing this, or what happens if we don't do this, if we delay it, or if we do it in parts, in phases. So you understand the business priorities first, because that's where you are also asking for inputs. Dev side story, you already know. You know the code base. You would know why they are asking it. So you have more context on this side. Then the business side. So business side basically gather the information first of what they are doing, why they are doing, why do they need this, and then try to make that judgment call. At this point, if I don't do this, and if I do this, then what happens? Which is the higher priority? Like you said, it cannot always be that okay, business has always needs, and then you're continuously pushing your tech deck out of your sprint planning. So I'm saying actual real business needs will come, let's say, three, four times in a year, 3, 4 sprints in a year. You will need to work for them, churn out code fast, put some shortcuts, and do the release. If because we are in a cutthroat environment, there's a lot of competition, so you do that for them. And when you deliver them, then you build a rapport with the business that, okay, this was needed, my team delivered this. So once you have that rapport, your PMs, your business counterparts, all will align with you. So what I do is whenever I have flexibility, I try to adjust what business is saying and build that rapport with them. And then whenever I want to sneak in my tech depths in a sprints, then they are also more than happy to extend their hand. That okay, yeah, we just did an sprint, couple of heavy sprint to deliver this item. Now let's take it slow. Let's give them some breathing time and let them do the tech first things. So and at my current organization, there's a lot of focus on tech depths, technical stability, and all. So we every quarter planning we sneak in one or other sprints. So we'll have just technical works. So along with the product features, we call out. We put this in OKR that we want to do this. So the major part in like explaining it to the business is the most critical part because it's not their area, right? So they wouldn't understand why you want to do this. So one of the major thing to get buy-in is to explain them, and if like wherever possible, measure it and showcase to them that okay, our app open rate is currently this many milliseconds on Play Stores and Firebase measuring tools, whatever you're using, and then show them that we are learn to work on this, and that is our target. You may reach there, you may be nearby, you may be little off to that, but if it is measurable, it's very easy for them to know. Show them, tie those back to the customer experience, customer complaints, Play Store reviews, App Store reviews. So tie them back to what they understand. Our app will be faster. Your users can make transaction faster. They'll be more happier. The word of mouth will increase. So you'll get more users, more business, like that. So tied back to what they understand, because it's hard for us to know why we want to build this so fast, and it's hard for them also to know why you want to optimize. Couldn't you do it at the first time? They explain to them that how tech works, how things over the time you realize they are not scaling, or over the time you find better ways to do it. You There was no time because you were trying to address business needs, but now you realize that this won't scale when like if the business is growing, obviously they would know that today you have 1 million users, tomorrow you have 5 million, after next year, basically. So you won't be able to serve them. So just talking to them, getting common language to understand, doing what they need sometimes, they will also obviously give you the freedom to do what you want to do in next. So that's how usually my barter system works. That I have your back, then you have my back when I need it.
Right, right. I think that's at the end of the day, that is all that matters, right? As a product, it is about both business and tech coming together to find that balance and this, right? I think one other question that I also had was, person. This is like a very personal question for you. Like personally, if you had to talk about one thing which you like the most of the role and one thing that you don't like the most, like maybe you don't hate it, but then to the point that hey, I would rather do less of this. What would those be, right? Like just so that let's say if tomorrow I want to get into that role, just trying to see what kind of things can go wrong, what you hated, what you like the most about it.
Okay. What I do like about is seeing the like I like to influence things when they are happening. So by being an engineering manager, I get to chance to decide on what we are picking up. So product will have ideas, and they would like to brainstorm you with early. So I never like being told that no this is decided by somebody,
Right.
and these things are ready. You just go and develop it. So because my first question comes why it may be a valid reason, and I have found over the years that sometimes you feel like why do product managers or business don't understand this is wrong, like this will not work, but unless you understand the reason behind it, it will be always be feeling like other person is stupid,
Right.
but they are also doing their job and they are with you in that company. So, like they will have some logic behind it. So I get to uh, experience that early when it's happening. I get to see the process why the decision was taken. So that's why one of the reason I became EM was that to get out that why out of the picture at the core of the problem when it's getting solved. So I like that. I like to see the bigger picture early on, rather than the, and that's what helps me also to tell my developers. It won't be always logical, but people just need, why are we doing this? It could more be like, hey, this is just an experiment. We thought everybody is doing it. Let's try. Other like your competitor is doing it, or the market is moving this direction. Just let's see. Experiment. If it doesn't work out, we'll scrap it. That is also valid. I have a hunch that this will work out. Okay, fine. But if somebody has not put a thought behind it, then I just cannot handle that uncertainty of, you are not putting efforts. If you put efforts, risk taking is also a part of. You never know what works out. So I love getting involved in making those decisions. And I always felt like, let's say our hiring is not going well because there are some issues in the process. The way you are handling candidates, you are reaching them out, the way you are talking to them is wrong. So that used to hurt me more than no, the day-to-day job I was able to be successful at. That project satisfaction I was not getting unless I see those 10 things which are around me broken. So I'll always used to take initiative. So that's like 10 things that you see around you are not happening well, and you have ways to solve this, and you want to own it and solve it. Those things help me. So taking ownership is basically something that is very good in this role, and that's the core part of it. Being an engineering manager. What I don't like, mm, yeah. So at times, if you are working with some people, and you know, uh, like you will get some managers who wants to do things only the way they want to, like they have done it in past, and
Yeah.
they want you to just follow it
Right.
because they have seen it work. They are not wrong. It works in some other setup, some other environment. But okay, we are ready to experiment, but just blindly follow this, and you can't question this. This is what works. This is how you follow Jira. You have to use Jira to the T, and like you have to create the sprints, every sprint log everything, like the grunt work, unnecessary, which is not suitable for this environment. That's when I get like I can't handle this. That okay, it's I could try it. Let's give it a shot. And having that freedom is when somebody tries to take that, then I run away from that situation. That be open. Let's experiment. I'm fine. You have learned this. It might work. Let's see. But no, you have must to follow this, and you cannot change it, even though it's not working for your team. That's where I. That's one of the challenges you will get if you are not working with the right folks. So like I would say recently one of my a friend told me this, and I'm gonna like maybe stick to that. And I have seen this in past, unknowingly following that idea is that first find good people to work on. If you have good folks to work on in your team, you the problem statement everything comes second. Let's say you're working on the best problem in the world. You like world also needs pays well, but the people are not good. You just can't stand them, then you will still not enjoy your life. So if you find good folks to work with, that's the one of the best part of any job. A little bit of less salary. I'm not saying half salary, but little bit of less salary. I've always like all the last two jobs I had, I have taken the second best offer in my hand. That was unknowingly. I was not planning for it, but I like the people more there. It's a short interaction. Like your interviews are just 5 6 hours of interaction. But if it leaves an no mark on your heart that yeah, I can go and work with these folks. Whatever problem is, we will see. We will handle. If things are not fine at current state of that company, it's okay. We all will work and solve it. But if people are not good, then you're gonna be spoiled. So yeah, when you have to work with the hard people who are like rigid and not adaptive, that's where job gets very tough. That you have to create reports, you have to create sheets, you have to create dashboard just for them.
Yeah.
Brainstorm as a company. If you need it, yeah, you need it, then you do it. But everybody's against it just because they want it. That's where it won't work.
Right. And I think a couple of things, right, to correlate to what you said. As you said, right, at times the reasoning by the product manager is not going to be logical to you as a developer, right? I think one of the things that I've developed as a mental model around it is think of it as an engineer, right? Like how you like to see what when MVVM was announced, everybody wanted to do MVVM, right? It is the same human psychology that a product manager also has, right? Hey, like there are market leaders who are doing this and seeing a lot of adoption. Like I think our app should also do it, right? And that is the reason that they gave you, right? That hey, everybody is doing it, that's why we are doing it. And at times when you go back as an engineering team and look at that reason, you are like, yeah, just because they XYZ is doing it, we are doing it. What is this logic, right? But then if you think of it from their perspective, right? If you tell them, hey, I want to move from like one architecture to the other because we think it is better, because Google says it is better, for that example, right? And it is the same philosophy, right? The same mindset that exists. It's just that you as an engineer don't tend to think of it that hey, like we are doing it because they are doing it, because it is their new shiny object syndrome, right? Like what we as an engineer have, that hey, there is a new library that I need to try, there is a new animation that I need to try, there is a new button that I need to try. It is the same thing with the product manager, right? Because the human psychology doesn't tend to change much, right? It is like hey, maybe doing this will improve the product to a greater extent.
Yeah, true that. And business is also little more uncertain in those areas. Like
Right.
if you don't do it the first, like if somebody else does it and they start building on top of it something else, you may lose out the whole train itself.
Right.
So yeah, at times sometimes they trust them, sometimes see the output and then see what reasoning they are giving about success and failure. Give them some breathing area, do it for them for some time, and if you don't find that synergy, over long time, then maybe it's not the right team or a right company for you, because things are not falling in a place. When that falls in a place where, okay, if they fail also, they are happy to accept it with a smile that yeah, we did it, but yeah, we screwed up. Same way we also do at times, right? Yeah, we know that bugs should not be there, but that is not a possible bug free world, right? So it's okay, we screwed up, I'll push your feature one sprint, let us work on this. Yeah, we'll put extra effort, solve it out, and next month we'll do your feature. So they will also be happy that yeah, it's okay.
Also, I have one more question. So, how do you give negative feedbacks to your reportees? For example, giving positive feedback is easy, right? So, but how do you handle situations when your team screws up something? How do you communicate that to your reportees?
Yeah, those are tricky ones. So basically, you have to be upfront, but you don't have to be so harsh about that feedback. You have to tell, and like it's better to be told right away, and in a small group who all are involved. Never shout out in public. That's the first rule as a manager. Always praise in public, criticize in private, and like talk to them, get on a call with them who are all involved, and just frankly discuss that. Okay, this thing screwed up. Then, what do you feel why it happened, or how do we avoid this? So it's like that. Like if you have dropped something, you can't change it back. If you drop your phone and broke, then you can't change it. So
Right.
next time, if you're a person who drops a phone, put a cover and a tempered glass. So, like, see how can I avoid this again? So new mistakes are always fine, but repeated mistakes are the ones that should never come. So sit with them, figure out, can we put some matrix around this? Can we put some event, some logging around this? How do we avoid this? And like just be to the just stick to the problem. This problem happened, not like why you did it or how could you have avoided it, or you were sloppy. Like don't personalize it, because problems are never personal. It's just that problem we are tackling. Look to problem, look for solutions, how to avoid it next time, how to make sure nobody else does it. Put some measures on a place. If your APK size is increasing, you put on a Jenkins that whatever one MB increases, you get an email. So whatever the screw up is, just try to like work work objectively to that problem. So they will also not be scared next time that something broke and then I'm gonna get scolding. Uh, Sometimes I've seen people just avoiding it just because they don't want to have harsh discussion. But I feel the problem should at least be addressed, and you should discuss with somebody who was responsible for that problem, so that next time it doesn't happen, somebody else doesn't do it in your team, some other project. So yeah, it's it. like you don't have to shout on somebody. You don't have to be harsh or personalize it. Just be objective. That helps in most of the cases. And never like as a leader, never shout like do anything criticism or on your team in a public. So that will spoil their confidence. That will spoil your relationship. Nobody likes to be called out. So just take. You'll have to take the blame for now. Then just discuss the problem and solve it.
Right. And I think it is also to do with the role of the team leader and EM, right? That once you go through such situations, it is now your role and responsibility to recalibrate accordingly, right? Like how much reliable XYZ team member is, what kind of work that you can rely on, and how sure or confident you are, and how can you build them nurture them
Yeah.
into a better, like I have seen engineers with excellent work skills but disastrous at like marketing their work or talking about their work or like explaining communication, right, has been the biggest problem, right? And I think a lot of them suffer, right? A lot of them do not get the right kind of appraisals, do not get the right kind of opportunities, basically because of the fact that they are bad at communication, right? Like they just don't, like you tell them what you need to do, they'll get it done in an amazingly amazing fast way. But then they just can't talk about it. They can't explain. Like if asked to explain, they give like a one line, "Hey, yeah, we changed this," and that is all they have, right? And I think as an EM or a team lead, right? At least the way I have always looked at it is my responsibility to help person give that feedback. Then, as you said, right, keep that feedback where it is important and where it is action item can be taken, and not like wait for the year-end appraisal to happen
Yeah.
and then say, hey, you know what, you 6 months ago you did this which I didn't like. Maybe you could have done things better. I think feedback delayed is pointless at that point of time, right? Because it is not relevant anymore. And as a person who's receiving the feedback, it feels very odd, right? That hey, you waited 6 months to give me this feedback. Like you, then it shows, right, that you don't really care about my growth and you don't really care about what happens with me. You only care about what is your end deliverable and your end goals, right?
Yeah. Feedback should be like whenever the issue happens, you should try to give it as soon as possible so that it's actionable. After 1 year, if you give, it feels like you are just creeping about something they may not even
Yeah.
remember or they could have solved it. So I was recently reading in a book that one more perspective that never give a feedback. Like okay, never tell them, hey, Vijesh, you did a good presentation today. This, it, everybody liked it, and then sneak in the bad comments in between, and then finish up like don't put a sandwich of
Yeah.
praise between because the issue that was explained in that book was that they may not get it. They may feel like yeah, you were telling everything was nice, just couple of sentences here and there. Then should I work on it? I don't know. I was happy that we started with good things, ended with good things. So don't create that praise sandwich and put a negative feedback in it. Just directly like just point out, yeah, you did good, but these are our action items. Let's see next time. Like be direct about it. If you try to hide it, then the other person may not understand why what happened and what are you exactly trying to ask them to do it. So yeah, praises should happen also like frequently so that whenever you are giving negative feedback, it doesn't feel like you're just coming to them and giving bad news and always criticizing them. If they did that was a little hard part for me to grasp at start. Like we feel like day to day, like somebody is very good at their job, right? So we inherently know that this person will do this project good only. You don't
Yeah.
have to praise them. That's not right. So that's something I had learned by reading all these books and articles and all that. Day to day. Then I came into a position where I had to give negative feedback also. Then I realized that that should not be the conversation you are be only doing. It should be always if something good happens, doesn't mean that they were expected to do it. They did it. Like if everything went well, talk about that also. Praise them so that and some people take this so by book that you just push a bug fix. I've seen managers who are just a person does a very normal job day to day. There's not
Yeah.
like false praises are the bad, because then you lose your credibility. Whenever you're speaking, the other person is not listening, because they feel like, yeah, you are overcompensating for everything. That, hey, awesome job, but then next sentence is that. That's it. Or very small thing also. It should not be so big also and so day to day also that you are thinking them every day. So try to do a mix of that, understand the situation, and then contextually it helps.
Cool. I think we are past our time as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we can, I think, wrap this up. And if you are watching this after the stream, then you can put your questions in our Discord. We have a Discord channel, and the link is probably in the description. So you can join that and ask the question in our channels. We'll try to get them answered by Bridges. Thanks everyone
Sure.
for joining. Thank you, Bridges, again.
My pleasure. It was a great discussion.